Let's jump right into the material today. We're unpacking the story of a tech empire whose tools literally helped create the very screen you're looking at right now. We're tracking Adobe's wild journey from a nascent 1980 startup all the way to becoming the undisputed foundational pillar of the global creative industry.
I mean, think about it for a second. From tweaking photos in Photoshop to cutting feature films in Premiere Pro, Adobe powers the creative world. But the real mystery here is, how exactly did a single software company achieve total industry dominance? How did they become the definitive standard?
Section 1, the foundations of Adobe. So looking at their timeline, the absolute bedrock of their empire was really poured during that second era with the creation of PostScript. And PostScript wasn't just, another piece of software. It was a revolutionary programming language that finally allowed computers to accurately talk to printers. It basically sparked the entire desktop publishing revolution and proved Adobe's engineering brilliance right out of the gate.
Section 2, rise to industry standard.
And they definitely didn't just sit on that early success. They quickly rolled out what I like to call the holy trinity of creative tools: Photoshop for images, Illustrator for vectors, and the Acrobat PDF for documents. And here's a fun fact. Acrobat actually started as just a little internal project to share documents across different operating systems at the company. But these didn't just end up being successful products. They fundamentally changed how we handle digital media forever.
So what happens when you drop those massive core tools onto the market? You get an unprecedented wave of global adoption. Because creatives absolutely had to share these native proprietary files seamlessly with each other, Adobe didn't just become a great option for digital design. Almost overnight, their ecosystem became an absolute, non-negotiable requirement for anyone hoping to work in the industry.
Section 3, the risky cloud shift.
But as we know, maintaining a tech empire means you have to take some massive swings. In a dramatic pivot, Adobe completely moved away from their incredibly safe, highly established model of selling physical software boxes for a one-time fee. Instead, they jumped headfirst into the wildly risky territory of the Creative Cloud, a model based entirely on monthly subscriptions.
Now you might be wondering, why on earth would they risk this, right? I mean, people were totally used to buying a disk and owning their software forever. Forcing a massive base of super dedicated users into a recurring subscription literally overnight, that was a terrifying gamble. It sparked immense initial backlash from the community, and honestly, it could have easily destroyed decades of hard-earned goodwill.
Well, spoiler alert, that gamble paid off big time, entirely transforming their business model for good. For the company, it locked in this highly predictable, recurring revenue stream. And for us, the users, it enabled seamless, continuous software updates, meaning we no longer had to wait 2 whole years just for the next physical box to finally hit the shelves.
Section 4, building the creative empire.
So with that recurring revenue engine humming along nicely, they basically blanketed the entire market. They conquered photography, locked down film production with their video editing tools, and completely dominated graphic design. But they didn't stop at individual creators. Nope, they went ahead and built these massive marketing and enterprise suites for huge corporations. Honestly, no matter where you operate in the creative pipeline today, you are more than likely using their tools.
Section 5, new rivals and AI. But, an empire of this sheer size inevitably attracts some pretty fierce competitors. Today, Adobe is facing serious multi-front pressure. You've got highly accessible platforms like Canva just scooping up everyday users. Then there's Affinity, offering these incredibly robust, subscription-free alternatives to professionals. And of course, most daunting of all, there's this aggressive new wave of AI-powered creative tools that threaten to just bypass traditional design workflows entirely. So how do they fight back? They launched Adobe Firefly. But instead of just building some standalone gimmick, Adobe actually brought artificial intelligence directly onto their home turf. By integrating these generative capabilities right into the software suite the creators are already using every single day, and this is absolutely crucial, training it entirely on commercially safe assets, they effectively took a major existential threat and turned it into a native feature.
Make no mistake though, the battle is far from over. Adobe's future survival really hinges entirely on navigating this AI pivot successfully. They've got to continuously prove to their user base that their legacy ecosystem can actually evolve faster and be more effective than all those agile new startups currently flooding the market.
When you step back and look at this whole multi-decade journey, one really profound truth emerges. Adobe didn't just build software. It became the language of creativity. They are literally embedded in the very DNA of how modern digital media is conceptualized and produced today.
But as we rapidly enter a brand new era where artificial intelligence is completely rewriting the very rules of how media is made, we're left with this massive question. Can Adobe adapt fast enough to stay the definitive standard for the next generation of creators? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.